So by now, you know that HTTP2 enables this, which is streaming of information. So client can subscribe for new data and the server can say, yes, the connection has been established and can keep pushing information to the client. This was the server push that was made possible by HTTP2. So now you needed only one connection and the same connection could be used to start off a stream. And beyond this, if you go, you also know that all of these streams can be multiplexed. Now, because we have HTTP2, we needed a new technology that could benefit from this, right? We had REST APIs, we had GraphQL, but we needed a new technology that could benefit from this streaming. So this is why we created gRPC. Now with gRPC, there are 4 ways to interact between client and server. You can have a regular request and response model, just how we were doing with HTTP 1.1. This is called as unary API. You can also have server streaming, where the client would make a request and the server will keep pushing updates or start a stream. You can also have client streaming, where there's a connection established, but the client will keep streaming information to the server. Or the most important one, the bidirectional streaming, where the client and server are both streaming information to each other. Now this works really well for use cases like video calling. Now, if you look at it from an architecture standpoint, this is how gRPC applications look like. So the client app is actually powered by a gRPC runtime, which also has a gRPC stub. The gRPC stub is responsible for deserializing the protobuf that it receives. Now, protobuf, a completely different way to organize information. So it looks very different from JSON. It is actually a competitor of JSON. So you get about 1.3x the compression of JSON, and protobuf requires less size and also enhances the speed of data transfer. So everything is being powered by HTTP2. So the server app also has a gRPC stub and a gRPC runtime. So you send information between the server app and the client app. So the server can send over HTTP2 and the client app's runtime receives this response, deserializes it, and sends it to the gRPC stub, which delivers it to the client app. The client app can prepare the request for the data that it wants from the server app, and gRPC stub will serialize it. The gRPC runtime will send it over HTTP2, which will then be received by the gRPC runtime of the server app, which deserializes it, processes the request at the server side, and prepares the response, which is then serialized by the gRPC stub, sent over HTTP2 by the gRPC runtime. From an architecture standpoint, this is how the entire interaction takes place between the client app and the server app. I want to take a quick minute to share something very important with you. As you move up in your engineering career, DSA and coding become less and less important, and system design becomes more and more important. To the extent that if you're going for a director, VP, or CTO position, the only thing they're checking for are your system design skills, because they assume that since you've spent so much time in the industry, you're very good with coding and DSA. Now, there are many resources on the internet for basic system design, but there isn't much for advanced level system design or using system design skills to actually work with complex systems. And this is why I've built a 3-month advanced system design cohort. If you're someone who has some experience in the industry and you resonate with this problem statement, you might want to fill the form that's in the comments and in the description of this video. 20 people have already joined up in this cohort. We'll check to see if you're a good fit once you fill the form, and we'll set up a time with you. Now let's get back to the video. So just to go over the important points, gRPC was built specifically for communication between microservices. So now you saw this client and server interaction. It doesn't have to be a client and server. It can be 2 different microservices streaming data between themselves bidirectionally. And this especially helps microservices because sharing data between services used to have REST API calls, which is highly inefficient. And it's not ideal because it leads to a lot of network calls, because imagine one microservice requesting information and then getting a response, and this happening with all of the microservices at the same time. So gRPC was built by Google, and what Google thought was, even if you find a way to transfer data easily between the client and the server, but still if the data was JSON, which was a big object, it was still a problem. So not only did you need to create a way to transfer information more efficiently, but the information itself had to change. So that's why they created Protobuf along with it. And this is why we had a completely new data format called Protobuf, which was built from ground up. So Protobuf is way more optimized, compact, and compressed than sending JSON objects. Now, gRPC, as you know now, runs over HTTP2, and that's why it has multiplex streams and bidirectional communication. And the way we set this up is we create .proto files, and we mention all the configs for how the communication is supposed to work between them. Then we define both the services and the message types in it, and then the client and server code is generated automatically from these files. If you want to explore further on how gRPC actually works from an implementation point of view, you can check out any of my Golang projects which has gRPC implemented in that. So now gRPC sounds like a silver bullet. Everything seems to be perfect with it, right? But it's not. It actually has some limitations. It's slightly more difficult to set up because REST APIs and GraphQL are way more easy to set up. And with gRPC, the problem is that it's also slightly more difficult to debug. So these two problems make it not a great fit for all use cases, but for use cases that require streaming or for use cases that require a lot of frequent communication, for example, two microservices needing information from each other, gRPC is a great fit. Now in the next video, we'll take things further with a more modern network protocol called QUIC. And then after that, we'll also explore HTTP3. So we learned HTTP2 and gRPC, but HTTP3 is even more interesting and even more modern. So in this series, we'll just keep exploring more and more awesome technologies as we go further.